Okay, it should be recording now. Okay, so we're recording the meeting so that we can have the video available in case you want to revisit later, or also for people that were not able to make it, they could still access today's training. Okay, so here's the bit.ly. If you type that onto your browser, it should take you directly to the presentation, and Kaylin also put the link to the presentation in the chat for you to access. It's helpful to follow along because we have links throughout the presentation. That way you can just go and access those yourself. Okay, so here are norms for today's training. To stay open-minded throughout. We want to respect all voices, participate with purpose, assume positive intent, learn from each other, and keep it safe and supportive. I also highly encourage you to make sure that you see the settings in your device. If you want to be unmuted, you are more than welcome as long as there are not many interruptions. We encourage the camera just to see your faces, but you do not have to turn on your camera if you don't feel like it. Okay. Here's our agenda for today. We didn't put times because we just, we're teachers, we go with the flow. But we'll try to keep it within the 2 hours so that you're out of here with some work, and you don't have to be here for long. But we are going to cover what makes a great first week. Then we're going to dig into the foundations of a good, great first week. Then we're going to give you some work time so that you can actually plan out your first week map. Then we're going to do some sharing and reflecting, see what you have prepared for your first week, and wrap up and next steps. I also want to say thank you for joining us. I know it's still kind of early in the summer. I don't know when you go back to school, but you're probably like, oh, it's July. I just want to rest. But you guys are really, giving up your time today to be with us. So I appreciate you guys a lot for that. I personally, when I was in the classroom still, I was planning in July already because I like to be prepared. So it's never too early. And, you can always come back to this later on. So thank you all for being here. Um, we are your presenters today, and I'll just introduce myself quickly, and then I'll hand it over to Caitlin. My name is Cecilia Estrada, but I also go by Ceci. I am a program specialist at Kern County Superintendent of Schools. That is my current role, but I was a primary school teacher. So I'm not currently in the classroom, but I still work with teachers. And I'm now moving to a new department, so I'm going to be working with the lower grades, like UPK, so pre-K, kindergarten, and like up into third grade. So that's my role now. And I'll just hand it over to Caitlin.
Hi, I'm Caitlin. I am a first grade teacher in California, and I have been teaching first grade for 4 years. I'm about to start my 5th year. And I also have been mentoring new teachers. I'm mentoring teachers that are in the process of getting their teaching credential. And this upcoming year, I will also get to mentor first and second year teachers as well. So very excited to be with you all today, and hopefully you can walk away with some first week plans.
Okay. Okay, so just to get to know each other, and I kind of asked some of you earlier this question, to put it in the chat, but we're gonna do it again, and we're gonna do a waterfall chat. So you're gonna type your answer, and you're going to enter when I do the countdown. That way we see everyone's responses at once. So your name, grade that you teach or hope to teach. So if you're not sure what you're teaching yet, you can just say, I would love to teach, whatever grade. Years in education, this is helpful just for us to support you. If you've been in education for like 10 years plus, we are going to need your help. That is why this is important, because you may have some good insight and tips for everyone else here in the room. And where do you teach? We ask for the state, the city, and you can say the district or area if you want to, but just state and city would be good. Because I know some of you are from out of state, so that would be great to know. So I'll give you a few seconds to type this, but don't drop it until we do the countdown from 3 to 1. So type it up. Okay, so we're gonna do the countdown, and you just drop the answer on the chat. So we'll do 3, 2, one, chat. Yay, I love seeing all the answers. 20 years. Wow. Let's see. We have some dual language teachers. Oh, we have someone from Arvin. Jose, do I know you? You look familiar.
You were at the meeting with Alma.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
we were part of the first cohort of the new program that Alma created. So um
Awesome.
Hilda's here too. So
Yeah, I recognize Hilda, but I wasn't sure about you, but I'm like, okay, he looks familiar.
yeah.
You guys starting your first year this year?
Yes.
Yay.
And
Okay.
I'll be in at Arvin.
Awesome. How cool. I'm so glad you guys made it.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a lot of different cities. Literally, we have some people from out of state.
Michigan,
Oh, wow.
Carolina, Florida. I
Yay,
love that.
this is so exciting. Thank you guys for coming. This is really cool. Okay, so we are going to move on, but we appreciate seeing your responses. It's nice to see who's in the room, and hopefully we get some chance to talk to each other later during work time. Okay. So we are going to get started, and the first piece we're going to cover is what makes a great first week of school. So if you've been teaching for a while, you probably already have an idea on what some of these pieces are. If you're new, you may not know everything that you need to know, and that's okay. That's why we're here to cover that today. So before we start, I want to ask you, as the teacher or new teacher, what makes a great first week of school to you? So think about it, and two options. You can drop it in the chat or you can unmute and speak because we do like for you to participate if you feel comfortable. You can just unmute, but think about this question. What makes a great first week of school to you? What does the first week of school look like? A successful first week of school for you and your students.
I think when I have everything like planned out and all the copies made that I would need, so I don't feel so, I don't know, like overwhelmed.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a great point. Planning out your week and, having everything ready is very important for you because it's less stressful. I
Making connections with the students themselves, because if they feel that they're connected with you and you actually I'm just because I'm an adult doesn't mean that I don't connect with you. What I do is I'm like, I am a first generation student. I was the first one to go to school. I was where you were at, not knowing if I was gonna make it to the next year, but I know how it feels. So once they see that, they're like, okay, I could relate to him. I could connect with him. And as soon as that happens, I see the students become more, they participate more, they listen to you. So just building that connection with the students is very important, especially in the beginning of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, and I see some of the answers in the chat, and you guys are kind of saying the same thing. Routines and procedures, not a lot of content, building community, setting expectations. Um, I saw one about parents, and I think that one's very important. I lost it, but you guys are talking about like communicating with parents and families. Yes, that one is really important too because you're not just only gaining the trust of your students, but also your families. So that is important to do the first week and throughout the school year. Um, Anyone else that would love to share before we move on? Okay. So here's just a quick example. We may not understand this fully right now because we're going to cover it, but this is just an example of 5 days, the first week. And as you can see, some of the bullet points that are listed are some of the things that you all mentioned, like building relationships and ways that you can do that, set expectations, And it does have a little bit of like academic pieces, but we're going to talk about how that embeds in first week of school activities without you like digging deep into the content right away, because that is not the goal of the first week at all. So this is just for you to look at. And today we are going to be covering 4 foundations that we believe make a great first week. So the first one is building relationships. Then we have establishing routines and procedures, creating a safe and welcoming environment, and introducing content gently. So we're going to cover each of these and give you resources and links that you can just literally print out or adapt and use for the first week of school. So why are these foundations important? They lay the foundation for a successful school year, focus on building relationships and setting clear expectations, teach students how the classroom runs through routines and modeling, help students understand what to expect and how to succeed, keeps academics light to ease the students in, prioritize creating a safe, structured, and positive learning environment. And this week sets the tone for the rest of the year with a strong first week. So we're going to dig into each of those foundations. But before that, we want to introduce you to this, my first week map, which the goal for today's training is that you walk away with at least some of those days planned out with some activities and resources that you're going to use. As you start preparing, you're going to have your own ideas and you're going to have your own things that you want to try. And I highly encourage you to do that. But if you're not quite sure where to get started, we're going to provide you with a couple of links and lessons and things that you can just adapt and use, and you have less work to do on your own. So this is linked. You want to click and it's going to force a copy. So once you make that forced copy, make sure you title it whatever you want it to be titled, and then just use that as your planning guide today. Okay, so it will look something like this. And on the left side, you can see the 4 foundations, which is something that you need to include each day. We're going to walk you through how to include something for each day for the 4 foundations. And you'll walk away with something planned out today. I actually started one myself just to show you a sample. It's linked here. But this is kind of what the goal is for your plan to look like. Like I did day 1 and I went through the slide deck myself and I kind of linked some of the things I would want to use from the slide deck. And these are linked out to directly the Google Slides or worksheets or websites where things are from, so that you just have to go back and print out and add to your slide deck if you're doing a slide deck, stuff like that. But that is the goal for today, that you can plan out at least some of these. And some of these you're going to use all week, like routines and procedures. So you're going to use probably for like months. So they're going to be linked in each day. Okay, so this is just an example. So you can look at how it should look. So I'll give you maybe 5, no, not 5 minutes. I was going to say 5 seconds. We'll do like 30 seconds for you to just make a copy and in the chat, or give me just a thumb up or say done when you have your copy ready, so we can move on because you will need this to continue. You guys are fast. You probably already did it while I was talking. Okay. Am I sharing my screen still?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So Kaylin, do you want to share for this part?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, so now we all have our copy and I'm gonna hand it over to Kaylin. She's gonna go over the first 2 foundations.
All right. Getting into our first foundation is building relationships. I know a lot of you mentioned in the chat that you like to focus on building relationships that first week. And it's so important to create those connections with students, and they build that bond and that trust with you. So here's a couple of things of why it's important to build those relationships. You want to have those connections. You learn about the students, what they like and what they need from you, whether that's like their support that they need from you or academics that they need. You show them that you care, because one of my favorite quotes is, students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I truly live by that every year. You want to build their trust. You want to listen to their voice and their input, because no matter how old they are, they still have opinions and values. And you want to make a safe space for them. And you can do that through building these connections with them. And of course, they act how you act. And so you model that respect with them every single day. Here are just four. There's literally so many ways that you can build relationships with students. Here are some four main ones that Ceci and I thought were really important for that first week. Giving the students a voice. I really like doing class circles, having them sit down and share their opinions. Whether you're talking about something super, I don't want to say important because everything's important. Whether it's something simple like what's your favorite color, or something a little more complex like creating norms and rules for your classroom, but you just want the students to not only build respect for you, but respect for each other. And you can do that through class circles. You want to greet the students at the door. I don't know if you've ever heard of four at the door. You make eye contact with them, you say their name, you talk about an interest. I can't even remember the fourth one. But greeting the students at the door is so important. And that's how you get to know them. And also, you can kind of get a read of how they're going to be throughout the day, especially as you get to know them throughout the year. Because if they don't even make eye contact with you, and that's something they normally do, then you're like, something happened that maybe they're feeling a little off today. So I'm going to give them a little bit more grace. Learning their names. Names are so important and valuable to us. And so practicing their names and asking them how they prefer to say their names, because the way you pronounce it may be different from the way they pronounce it. But learning their names and calling them by their names is really important to build that connection with them. And of course, you're not just building relationships that first week, you're building relationships from day 1 to day 180. We have 180 days in our school year. I don't know how many. Some school districts may be a little different, but from day 1 till the last day of school, you are constantly building that relationship. So be consistent and be kind. Here are some activities that we found and we linked. I really enjoy these activities, and these are all free activities for you. If you guys like them, they're all linked on the slide for you to check out and use. They definitely vary based on grade level, but I know even the sixth graders sometimes enjoy activities that the first graders do. They may try to say that they don't, but they do. So those are all linked if you guys want to check those out. And I'm actually going to give you time now to look through those and then add them to your first week map if you find something that you would like to use, or if you just want to make a quick note like, hey, for building my relationships, I want to do like greeting them at the door. What I like to do in the morning is they get to pick their greeting. So if they want to give me a hug, they want to give me a high five, they want to give me a smile, those are listed. So if you want to just like jot down a note like that, just so it's all in one place. So how long, Ceci, do you think? Like a minute, 2 minutes to add?
Yeah, we can do 2 minutes, and also consider that you can use this time to, think about if you already have something planned out, you can list that in the plan, even if it's not one of ours. And if you have ideas that you would like to share with others, you can drop it in the chat and say, this is another great activity, because we're here to support each other.
Which, yeah, I think that's what our next slide is. So if you have something you like to use for building relationships, please share. Because that was one of the things when we created this community, was we wanted not just you guys to hear from us, but from you to hear from each other.
I have like a really quick so my first week is only Tuesday through Friday, and it's only from 8 to 12. So I have like a very limited time that first week. And like obviously like we're not teaching like curriculum or anything that first week, but then come that Monday we are. So it's like essentially my week is cut in half. So what do you think is like maybe like the most, because it's my first year too. Like I've been a TA here and everything, but like teaching, like me being in full control, it's like my first year. So like what would you think is like important that I should focus on?
So I would say building relationships. And
Okay.
we're going to talk about how to kind of introduce content a little bit gently. That way, when
Okay.
that first Monday starts, you are ready to go. Because I'm in the same boat. Our first week is 3 days. It's Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Mm,
So those first 3 days is really focused on building relationships and establishing those routines, which I'm going
okay.
to talk about next. So I would focus on that. And then Ceci will go over how to gently introduce that content. But I would say your number one focus should be building the routines and going over routines and procedures. And one great thing about teaching is if something goes wrong or you don't like the way it went, then
Yeah.
next year you just change it and tweak it.
Okay.
So you get like a fresh start, which is
Okay, thank you so much.
you're welcome. Okay. Anything else? If anyone has any, oh, I see some chats. Oh, I see the bag about me. Oh, yes, having a good playlist and having the students add to them. I love that. And then the students get excited when they hear the songs that they picked. Obviously, appropriate songs. I love it. Yes, I feel like a lot of school districts are shifting to having that short week. And I know like our district doesn't call it the first week, they call it the first 3 days. And they really want us to focus on building relationships and community. Yes, also teaching the students about yourself. 'Cause
Hi.
you're a person.
Hi.
Hi, Lee. I'll be the PA looking out today. Tell me what's going on.
Okay, so sorry, I'm just trying to leave this.
You're
video.
okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay. All right. We're going to go into our next foundation, which is my personal favorite, which is establishing routines and procedures. When you have routines and procedures in your classroom, you want to teach the students how things are done. If you have a system, they need to be able to do it because that's going to help them throughout their everyday. You want to make sure you set clear expectations, whether that's in daily tasks or in their transitions. This is going to cut down on interruptions. Now, this isn't going to happen the first day. This isn't going to happen the first week. This is going to happen gradually throughout the year. But if you start those expectations on the first day, then it'll make it easier as the year goes by. You have routines there. We'll go over the different routines, but there are routines for everything. You wouldn't think about it until it happens, but everything has routine. You want to use the same cues. We'll talk about callbacks, voice levels, and hand signals. And you want to make sure you model, practice, and the most important, you repeat. You don't just tell them once and do it once. You will do it over and over and over again. You'll do it in August, you'll do it in October, you'll do it in December, and you'll even do it in May and June by the time the year's up. So those routines and procedures are very important. And then it just helps create structure and prevents any type of behavioral issues. This slide deck that I have linked for you, my routines and procedures slide deck, these are the slides that I use to teach my students routines and procedures. Now, I'm not going to go through this slide deck with you because it is 115 slides. So there's a lot of information here. If you want to open it, make a copy, and then you can change it to fit your needs in your classroom, especially because I do teach first grade, so this is set for primary grades. So you can change it to however you need. I'm not going to go through each slide, but I am going to kind of summarize what I have in these slides. Starting off with number 1, how to use supplies. My first day of my first year, I handed the kids a pencil box full of every single supply they were going to need. And then by the time my second year came around, after I talked to Ceci, because Ceci and I did teach together for a little bit, I learned that you don't do that. You can, but it's a lot easier when you slowly roll out their supplies and then you also teach them how to use their supplies appropriately. So for every supply I give them, we create a tree map. We come up with things that we can do with our pencils and things that we probably shouldn't do with our pencils, right? We use them to help us do our work, but we don't eat them. Some of the students will still try to eat them, but you go over the expectations. So, and we create this map together. I don't tell them yes or no. They tell me yes or no, so that they feel that they are important. That also goes with that building relationships, right? And then we establish the expectations, then we practice. So I have this pencil practice paper. It is linked for you if you would like to use it. This is another way I also introduce content. I don't just have them trace lines, I also have them trace letters. So they're kind of getting introduced to the content without me fully throwing new things at them. You'll also notice that I have a link to a California Educators Together website, and that has a different set of slides for you. So I just gave you the example for pencils, but I do this for every supply. If you open up that 115 slide document, you'll see that I do it for scissors, I do it for glue, I do it for crayons, and I believe I do it for highlighters, but I don't know if that's on that. But every supply that I give them, we go over my expectations and then we practice. And of course, we repeat it as many times as necessary. Here is a short list of routines. It looks like a long list, but these are some of the most important routines that I feel are important in my classroom. And these are also all the routines that are highlighted in that main slide deck. For every routine, I teach it the same way. I start off by stating the expectations. This is what we need to do. This is how we're going to do it. Then we have a discussion. What happens if this goes wrong? Then I check for their understanding, and then we practice the routine. And of course, one of the most important steps is I repeat it as often as needed, whether that's in August, in December, or in May. And yes, I do repeat this in May because they need it sometimes. Some days are just off days. I'm going to give you an example straight from the slides. So this is what I have the students do when you need help. And I'm going to act like I'm teaching it to my students. So congratulations, you are now all first graders. And I'm going to teach you the way I would teach my students. All right, today we're going to be talking about what we do when we need help. When we need help, we stay in our seats and we raise our hand and wait patiently for the teacher. We wait patiently just like SpongeBob. He's sitting very nicely waiting. We can quietly ask a friend that's next to us if the teacher's unavailable. Maybe our friend can help us. We can also ask questions using kind words. We want to ask very nicely when we need help. All right, we want to talk about what would happen if we had students get up and follow the teacher around instead of staying in our spots. I would pause. I would probably call on one or two students to share, and some of them are going to share something, and some of them are going to share something totally crazy, right? Because they're first graders. But we'll have a nice discussion on why it's important for us to stay in our seats. And then I would ask the next question, what would happen if one student kept calling a teacher's name over and over again instead of waiting patiently? Then again, I would call on one or two students, and we typically have a pretty good conversation about what they would think would happen. Then we play a game. Everything's always a game because they love playing games. We play an expectations game. All right, if it's something we should do, we're going to give a thumbs up. If it's something we probably shouldn't be doing, we're going to give a thumbs down. So I would go over this first picture. Is this something we're supposed to do? Are we supposed to follow the teacher around the classroom? And they would show me no. And they'd probably laugh and giggle because they're penguins and they're so funny. Should we yell at the teacher from across the room? No, we shouldn't. Should we chase the teacher around the room? No. Should we sit patiently and raise our hands? Yes. And then we would practice. All right, I'm about to give you an activity. If you have a question or need help during this activity, I want you to raise your hand and practice waiting your turn. And then what happened last year was everybody randomly had a question. or wanted to tell me a story because they just like to raise their hands. So, but it was effective in showing them and practicing that action of raising their hand. So that is just one example of the procedures, but I teach every procedure in that same structure. I just change out my expectations and change out those pictures to match what procedure I'm teaching. Here is some more procedures that you could use. That's a lot. But think about everything they do in your room is a procedure. A lot of the things are the same thing every day. You're just taking out the content and changing it. So this is an example of a procedures checklist, just to give you some ideas. Now, don't get overwhelmed, especially if it's your first year. I would think of maybe like 5 main procedures that you really want to focus on, especially that first month. And then once they kind of have that structure and that routine, then you can kind of add more. But do not try to teach all of these within that first week, because you're going to be overwhelmed and you're going to have a room full of tired students. I will tell you that. Next up, I want to talk about callbacks. Callbacks are really important for getting students' attention. And these are just some examples of ones that I use in my classroom. One of the things with callbacks is if you call them and only some answer, you want to use a different callback to try to get their attention again. So these are just some examples I have. And there's so many. If you go on TikTok, it's endless. It's literally endless. Next, I wanted to talk about voice levels. So voice levels are really important. Well, I like using voice levels in my classroom. That way the students know the expectation of what they're supposed to be doing. And the way I teach voice levels, you'll notice, is very similar to the way you teach procedures. You state the expectation, you practice, you check for understanding, and then you repeat as often as needed. Now, I have the slides for teaching students linked in that big long slide deck, but I'm just going to kind of quickly go over how I teach the voice levels. So stating the expectations. Voice level 0 means our voices are off. We are working quietly and we are not talking to our friends. Then we would practice. Oh, everyone show me, what does voice level 0 sound like? They would all get nice and quiet. Then I would repeat for the next voice level. All right, voice level 1 is a whisper. When we whisper, we are talking very softly. Let's practice. Can you show me what voice level 1 sounds like? And then they would all go, psst, 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 psst. They're so funny when they whisper like that. And then I would repeat for voice level 2 and voice level 3. I would state the expectations, we would practice, and then we would play a game. It's always a game. We'd play a game. Okay, everyone, show me voice level 2. They would talk normal. Show me voice level 3. They'd get really loud. Show me voice level 1. They'd whisper. Show me voice level 0. They would get quiet. And you kind of just quiz them. And they have fun with it. They get all silly. And of course, you repeat this as often as needed. Now, in the big slide deck I have these voice levels linked, but I also have other options because I know some people use different voice levels. I've seen people use 0 to 2. I've seen 0 to 4, and then I've seen people call them not by the numbers, but by different like places. So coffee shop is like a whisper. You play music and it's a whisper. And I've seen like movie theater mode, and they're nice and quiet because when you watch a movie, you're not talking, right? So there's different options linked on that big slide deck for you if this isn't something you like. And the last thing I'll talk about for routines and procedures are hand signals. I wish I had this my first day of my first year because hand signals are something that have truly helped me. Students are able to ask for something without actually asking. They ask quietly and it doesn't cause any disturbance to anything else. And you'll notice that it's the same routine as what you teach for voice levels. You state the expectation. Oh, for restroom, we're going to cross our fingers and we do an ASLR, right? And that's how we ask to use the restroom. We don't speak when we do this. This lets our teacher know that we need to use the restroom. Then all the students would practice. Once I teach all the hand signals, then we check for understanding. And I be quick. Show me question. Show me hurt. Show me water. Show me pencil. Show me restroom, right? You do it nice and quick and you repeat as often as needed. I repeat this every day. It's quick. It takes about 10 to 15 seconds. I have them show me their hand signals real quick every single day until the last day of school. So those were just some routines and procedures to think about. Again, that really long slide deck kind of goes a little bit more in detail, and I'd be happy to answer any other questions that you have. And hopefully I have enough things linked. If you like these hand signals right here, I do have them linked on that long slide deck for you. And there are some other back to school resources if you need them. Of course, all linked and all free. If there was anything you liked, feel free to add it to your first week map. We'll give you some time to kind of go through that slide deck. And if you don't, it's a lot. So if you don't feel like you have enough time now, we'll give you more time later. And if you have any routines or procedures or the way you do it and you would like to share, please feel free to unmute or type in the chat.
I just want to add on really quick, that slide that has the back to school resources, slide 40, you'll have to log into the website, but once you log in, it has a lot of different activities, even like rules. It has a slide deck too with rules and procedures that are kind of for like the higher grades. And it just has a lot of different things that you can use for back to school that first week. So when you have time, look through those because that would save you a lot of time. They are simple, they're not fancy or anything, but you know, it saves you time. You just literally have to download and print. It even has some behavior and classroom management resources there. So look through those. It has like a daily SEL check-in, stuff like that that you can add on to your plan.
And
Go ahead, sorry.
oh,
Were you gonna say something, Caitlin?
I just said it's all free.
Yes. I see a hand up. Fanny, do you want to unmute?
Yes, I was just wondering if you guys have any piece of advice for a backpack procedure because as a student teacher, I was teaching second grade and the backpack issue was not the best. They were all over the floor. I would always trip over them. My classroom that I will be teaching in first grade is empty. There is no closets, there is nothing. So I can't think outside the box, but to just use laundry baskets. Do you guys have anything else in mind?
So I use storage tubs, which probably isn't the greatest because I know some people don't like the backpacks touching, but I use storage tubs. I got them from, I think, Home Depot. They're like the heavy duty ones. And I actually use them at the end of the year, anything I need to take home. The tubs get cleaned and then I take them home with me. But I set them there. They put the backpacks in there every morning, and then I give them about the first 10 minutes. If they forgot something, they can grab it. They take out their lunch and their water. And then after that 10 minutes, nope, you cannot go to your backpack. So that's kind of what I do. I know there's other teachers at my school site that have carts with hangers, which is really nice. And then another thing about my tubs, I have 2 tubs. I have 6 groups. So tub 1 is for groups 1, 2, and 3. My other tub is for 4, 5, and 6. So try to keep their backpacks a little more organized. That's worked for me. I've done that for the last 4 years, and that's worked for me. But I don't know if Ceci has anything that she.
Well, when I was in the classroom, we had like a little storage area, and I ended up buying like hooks, and I was able to put the hooks in that storage area, and then I numbered the hooks, and then they would hang it there. I tried the chair. I hated it. They were always on the floor, but sometimes if you don't have storage, I would say finding hooks. I think hooks is the best that I've seen so far. Even like by the window or by the wall, any wall really, like lower on the side, you can put hooks and then number them and they know where the backpack goes. I tried the tubs as well when I was teaching with Kaylin. I didn't like it as much, but that's the only option we had. So that's I did both. I like the hooks better.
Okay,
Um,
thank you.
yeah.
Honestly, I would recommend trying something, and then if it doesn't work, try something else. It takes a while, but you'll definitely find what fits best for you and your students.
Caitlin, there's a question on the chat. How many procedures do you think we should cover per day?
I do a lot. I like a good structured classroom, but I pick one like daily routine, and then I normally teach 1 to 2 supplies because that kind of goes by a little quicker. And then we go over voice levels and hand signals. So that's a lot in the first day, but that pretty much takes up my whole first day, and we play like games during it. So that's what I like to do. So typically we go over sitting, like how to sit at the rug. I teach them how to use a pencil and crayons because those are like #1 main supplies. And then we go quickly over voice levels, hand signals, because that's something they'll need for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think depends on what's most important to you. I wouldn't do as many on the first day, but I would do like lining up, sitting, and maybe like hand signals because they're gonna need hand signals day one. But that's it. And then the next day, some of them won't be needed the first day, but whatever the ones that are most important to you on day one, which lining up, sitting, hand signals, I would say are the top three. Others, you kind of, or something too that I would just kind of do it on the spot. Like if someone said, I want water, then I would be like, okay, there's a way to ask for water. And then we would go very quickly. And it feels more like organic. And they get it. They get it, just practice. Or they want a pencil suddenly. You're like, oh my gosh, I don't have a pencil routine. What is that? So if you already have it, you can teach it on the spot as they ask, because they're gonna come up with random things that they want to do, and then you're gonna have something for that. So it's another way to think about it as well.
Another thing I did it at the end of this year. I filmed my students doing stuff. So this upcoming year, I will show them actual students doing it. Instead of just me talking and me demonstrating it, I filmed real students doing procedures. So I hope that that helps my upcoming year. Now, for my first year teachers, remember that for the end of the year. But I'll let you know. I'll report back if that works because it may not work. And what works one year may not work another year. That's the beauty of working with little humans.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen now to move on to the next piece. And I hope that all of you are either making some notes or adding some links, because we would be sharing that later at the end of the training. Okay, so this next foundation of what makes a great week is creating a safe and welcoming environment. And if you've been teaching for a while, you are going to agree that we hear this all the time. But what does it really look like? Because it could be a lot of things, right? It could be, well, what your classroom looks like. Well, your classroom can be amazing and look beautiful, but are you doing all of the other things that actually build that welcoming and belonging in the classroom? So we're going to cover what this looks like and what does it mean to create a safe and welcoming environment. So what this means, a couple of things here. The first one, create a physical space that gives students a sense of belonging. There's a lot that goes into this, and I'm going to cover some of this in examples. The second one is plan activities that celebrate personal history and culture. Use literature to teach expectations, treating people with kindness and belonging. Include students in the design of classroom activities. This one is my favorite because it is part of Universal Design for Learning. When you start learning about UDL, you're gonna just love it. Everything is gonna flow, and you're including the students and their, funds of knowledge in everything that you do. And all of these things are just happening in the classroom. So we're going to cover what each of these look like. If there are any questions, just put them in the chat or unmute, and then I'll be happy to answer. So the first one, create a physical space that gives students a sense of belonging. I didn't want to focus too much on the classroom. I don't want to say like classroom decoration, which is important. The way your classroom looks is important for your students. You want them to walk into a clean, nice, happy classroom. But some of these things often get overlooked. So I wanted to focus more on that because I know we're all excited for our classroom themes. You can't tell me you're not. Like everything that you're going to put to decorate, you got that. You don't really need support with that. Just make sure your classroom remember that your classroom is a reflection of you as an educator and the space that your students are learning. But these are some of the things that I want you to consider when it comes to actually creating a space that has a sense of belonging and is welcoming. Student work on display is very important. We do a lot of work in the classroom and students love to see it. I say always make space for a bulletin board where you're going to display work. I remember one of the years I was teaching, I didn't have enough space and I was debating between like birthdays or classroom work display, and I said I'm not doing I did birthdays, but I didn't put a whole bulletin board for the birthdays. They are important, the kids love them, but you can find a smaller space for that. Them seeing themselves and their work up in the wall is more valuable to them than the birthday. I think I would prioritize that over something fun. Like sometimes we get excited. Like I did this myself, I'm guilty. I created this beautiful bulletin board with just decorations, and my student work wasn't up. And I think that you have to prioritize what shows them more belonging and that you care about what they're doing and themselves in the classroom. Names everywhere. This is just nice. Kids love their names. I just would have their names all over my classroom. Like if I had helpers, I would have their names displayed. I even saw a teacher. I wish I did this, but I never got to do it. She printed out pictures of the kids, and the kids would do like the poses, like holding a paper, and then she would use like today's schedule, and then she has the boy, or a girl printed and laminated, and they're holding the little picture and they see their faces all over the classroom. And to me, that's just beautiful, like for them to see themselves, and they love it. Even the older kids, they like it. The third one, classroom agreements made together. So we're going to talk about this later, the classroom social contract, but even creating your expectations. I personally never really used the word rules. I didn't like it. I always did expectations, and we did them together. We created them together, and obviously I know what I want the expectations to be. So I know exactly what to ask them and exactly what to tell them, and I knew how to rephrase their words so that they ended up being my expectations. But including them on like, how do you think we should treat your teacher? And then they tell you, and I'm like, oh, so you're saying we should treat our teacher with respect? And they'll be like, yeah. So you kind of like work together to build those expectations or any type of agreement, because um you can include them in all these things. Family and culture wall. I saw this recently in my current position that I'm working. I went to a classroom and I saw a teacher that had a family and culture wall, and it was beautiful. She had a very diverse classroom, and she had different things that the kids brought from home. And I just, I was like, I need to go back to a classroom and do this. This is amazing, especially with everything that's going on right now. More than ever, they need to see themselves and they need to feel that they belong in your classroom. Um, Cozy corners or calming corners, flexible sitting. These are other things that create a physical space that is appropriate for your kids. They won't need that space. Even you will need it sometimes. You may want to sit in the cozy corner yourself. So all of these are options. Flexible sitting, if you do that, that is just another thing. You have to create expectations and routines for that, but they're optional. I did this when I was in the classroom. I had some flexible sitting, and I had like they would buy with points, PBIS points, they would get to sit in the different things, and we created expectations because I didn't have enough flexible sitting for everyone. So just know with some of these come more expectations and routines. And the last one, inclusive and representative decor. So again, over your theme that you select, always consider these inclusive things that can help your students feel safe and that they belong. So here are some examples. This is just an example of what the student display wall could look like. It's very important to showcase their work. Also, when parents come into your classroom, they see that and they notice things. They notice that you're displaying their work, and that's a beautiful thing. I have these two here that have some like inclusive posters, their website, so you can go and look through those. I picked these two because they have different ones for all grade levels, so even for like high school. But you can go through those. You can create your own. If you go in Teachers Pay Teachers, they have so many free ones to look at, and I would definitely make some space for some of these posters that make our kids feel safe. The next part is planning activities that celebrate personal history and culture. Some of these are very simple to do. You want to encourage the use of home language. That is a very simple thing that you can do to help your students feel like you're honoring their culture and their roots. In my classroom, we spoke Spanish randomly, and they just were amazed that I spoke Spanish. I don't know why, but they were like, "Oh my God, you know Spanish?" And so we would, I would say, yeah, today we can talk in Spanish. We would have a code word, which is like a classroom management strategy. Each day, the code word would change, right? And then that code word would be like the signal for them to do something. And I would allow them to pick words in Spanish. Obviously, everything has to be appropriate, but they loved it. And then the kids that didn't know Spanish, oh my gosh, they were amazed that they were pronouncing Spanish words. Things like that are important. So encouraging their home language, allowing them to speak it is one way that to celebrate culture. Celebrating cultural traditions and observances. This is important as well. There are so many observances nowadays and so many different celebrations. Picking a couple of them and celebrating them really helps your students feel like you acknowledge all the different cultures. With this, I do have to say, because I experienced this myself, I had a student that did not celebrate anything. And it was a little bit rough because I am the queen of celebrating, and I had to speak to the parents, what's okay with you, what's not okay with you. So for that year, I didn't do a lot of this, or I was very careful on how I would teach it because I still wanted to teach about the culture without calling it like a celebration. So I was very careful. We didn't do any holidays. We instead we did like winter, we didn't do Halloween, we did like fall, things like that to honor that student's beliefs. The other option was the student would leave the classroom whenever I did something like that, and I hated that. I didn't like that he had to be outside of my classroom for that, so I just ended up not doing anything. But if all your students celebrate and are okay with that, it's very important to acknowledge these celebrations because they do make them feel like they belong and that you know about these things. I see a question, Jose.
So if we celebrate one holiday, does that mean that we celebrate everything? We
No,
just pick and choose whatever we want.
I think you pick and choose, but I would just say consider try to
Be
make it
diverse.
diverse
Okay.
holidays. Like for example, now each month is has an observance. Like there's, Hispanic month, and then there's African American, and there's all the different cultures. I personally liked kind of doing as much as I can from the different ones, just so they see themselves through, even if you don't have students that are from that culture. I still like to bring them into my classroom, but you don't have to do it all because it's a lot.
Okay. Yeah, because I was in dual and we did the grito.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the students did that and it was amazing. You saw the response, like how happy they were to actually do it in the classroom.
Yeah, and even I think I personally love these because they learn about different cultures. So if you have the time and space to plan for this, I would do it. And I have a resource for you guys that has a lot of slide decks already done for you for most of these. So you don't have to recreate. So
Thank
maybe
you.
that would encourage you to do each of them or as many as you can.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah. Incorporate identity and family projects. I think these are great. Include multicultural literature and media. This is probably the easiest way to bring in, culture and be inclusive through literature and stories. You can plan a whole read aloud lesson based on a book that teaches about different culture, and that's an amazing way to bring this in. Create opportunities for storytelling. That would be something maybe like in the mornings, even when they're, lining up. I don't know, different ways to allow them to talk about their personal lives. And facilitate classroom discussions around culture. That's another big one. So here are some examples. This picture here, I saw it at a training that I went to with this specific quote that says, healthy identity grows when children feel their culture, language, and family are seen and valued. And this activity is so cute. It's like the teacher provided multiple resources for them or materials for them to create a portrait of themselves. And she provided different colors and shades, and they did this, I think, the first week of school. I don't know what the activity was called, but they created their faces, and this was shown up on the their walls. And it was really cool because they got to see the diverse skin colors and the hairs and just everything. And it's a nice activity to do day one because it also teaches you a lot about them and themselves. So it's a really, really cool one to do. This right here is maybe what you would want to make a copy of. It is a Canva and you just have to make a copy of it. But this one has links to at least I don't want to say all celebrations and observances, but most of them. And they're all like slide decks with worksheets. And they're made for like elementary, but you can always take it and adapt it. If you're like, this is too for like kinder or first, but I want to make it more for a fifth grade, you can definitely adapt. I organized it by month. So each month, like August, it has a lot of back to school stuff. September, it's 9/11. If you're teaching a grade where it's appropriate to teach this, you can definitely click that one. Hispanic Heritage Month, there's a slide deck with lots of resources for that. Dot Day, if you celebrate Dot Day, that one is a really cute one. It goes with the book The Dot, and it has a whole slide deck you can do, and then activities for that. Then we go into October and you'll see some Halloween. There's also a fall one here. If you don't want to do Halloween, you can do fall. Then there's November, December, January. December has a lot of different options. I love December. And you have for February, I think I did instead of Valentine's Day, we did like SEL and we learned about like this collection talks about, self-love and just being kind to others. So all of these are already made for you. The ones that take you to California Educators Together, if you don't have an account, just make an account later on to access. But I would keep a copy of this because it literally has some of these observances and celebrations already done for you. So you don't have to, go and create your own thing because that is very time consuming. And a lot of times we skip those important days because of time. Okay, are there any questions about those pieces that I just shared? Okay. This next one is I'm just talking about morning meeting or your morning circle. I know people call it different things. I would call it morning meeting, but this is the perfect time to bring in these activities, discussions, because it's social emotional learning and you can integrate a lot of these components. So during morning meeting, you can build community and connection. It also helps you create a consistent start of the day. Like they already know in the morning, we're going to have a discussion about something or we're going to be reading a story. Support social emotional learning. It gives students a voice because you're allowing them to talk. Sets positive classroom tone, practice routines and listening skills, and preview the day in a calm, structured way. I link this here. It's very unorganized. This is me. I am not a type A teacher. I wish I was. But this was my morning slides the last year before I left the classroom. This is what I would do every single morning. I use the same one and I just changed out the link. So I started with, some of the school routines like flag salute. And then we had this rules little song. This was first grade. And then I would have something like this, sharing. What did you do over break? Or, I would change that question every single day. And that's when they get that a time to speak and share. I would sometimes say something, share about your family or something random. There's so many questions you can do. I would do attendance and then I would go over some of my expectations. And this was like later in the year and I was still reviewing callbacks and expectations. Like how do we enter the room because they forget with time. So this is just an example of what I would do. I had affirmations and we did them every morning. They loved it. And then with time, I would let them lead the affirmation. So instead of me doing them, I would have someone come up and they would say, I am strong. And then everyone would say after them. And these are so cute. They love them. Then we had classroom management stuff. And this is just for you to look. I had games. So I had this tutor boot. It was like, oh, it says that I don't have access. But it was like a music. So I had appropriate songs for them and we would play each song. And if they like it, they would get up and dance. If they didn't, they would sit. They love these things. And you can look through here and see it starts getting unorganized from here on because I would just pick random slides from here and move them up. But I just wanted to show you an example of a morning meeting and the opportunities that you get to integrate all those things. Okay, the next thing is using use literature to teach expectations, treating people with kindness and belonging. So this is a very easy way to create a safe and welcoming environment. You want to read books that model kindness, empathy, and respect. Choose texts that reflect classroom values and norms, and use diverse books to promote belonging. Here are some examples of these books. These are all linked to lessons, and the lessons have slide decks and instructions on how to teach. So I'm gonna just open Chrysanthemum. This one I loved for the lower grades. I think honestly, any grade level, this one's a really good story. So this one it's a whole lesson, so you don't have to read through it all, but it has a slide deck that teaches you, that shows you exactly what you would show the kids. So you do a picture walk, you teach them vocabulary, you read the story, there are questions, and then there's a final activity that they can do, and everything is linked for you. This one is a good one to teach the first week of school because it talks about respect, acceptance, and being kind. This last one that says social emotional learning has 3 lessons in it with 3 different books. And each of them, when you click, has a slide deck and has resources that you can print out for that specific story. So definitely take a look at these. There's another list here for back to school classroom and community read aloud. So if you open it, it's a list with different links to different stories. I think Caitlin did this. Thank you, Caitlin. And it just sends you out to resources for that specific book. So the list is very long. You have way too many stories to pick from. This last one includes students in the design of classroom activities. I mentioned this is universal design for learning, which means you are always considering students' assets and you bring them into the classroom activities. So you want to offer choice in how the students show understanding. This is a big one for me. I just feel like every time I hear it, I feel guilty because I would have activities where students had to write a sentence and then you have students that can't write. So how are they going to show you their learning? So consider different ways that they can show learning. Invite student input on topics and interests. So ask them what they like, what are they interested on, and then use that to teach and to bring it into your lessons. Co-create learning goals and success criteria, provide options for regrouping and roles, encourage student-created activities or questions, and use student feedback to adapt instruction. A lot of times these feel hard to do, but once you do them, they are easy. The kids love to be part of things, and you're also saving yourself time when you're including them in the design of things. So here are some lessons that you may want to look at for students being involved in the design of things. One big one for the first week of school. It doesn't have to be done on the first day, but if you want to do something like this, I highly encourage that you put it in your plan, is building a classroom social contract. It's pretty much you go over, you talk to the students, and together you come up with a contract that you're creating on how to treat each other, and what your classroom should look like, feel like, and sound like. And they are telling you all the ideas. You're just writing them down. At the end, they end up signing that contract, and it's a big poster. You have it up on the wall. And every time that students are not following these expectations or the contract, I will refer back to it and say, okay, let's revisit our classroom contract. It sounds like we're forgetting what we signed, the contract that we had. So this first one is for kinder through second grade. And then this one my colleague created, and this is like 3rd to 5th grade, which they're different lessons for the different grades. But like the 3rd grade one is here, and then you'll see the slide deck. So you just literally show the slide deck to your students and go through it together, and then you'll end up creating that social contract. So this one she has as like creating the perfect classroom, and then this for 3rd grade they can do more independently work. So I think she had them grouped. Mine is more like guided because it's K through 2nd. So you're doing a lot of the teaching, and they're just kind of contributing. So we are talking about what is a contract. You're teaching them the word contract. Then we talk about the different things that go into the social contract, and then you build it together. And then at the end, you create that big poster with the contract, and they come and sign it. So these are options. I would do this the first week, maybe not day 1, but sometime during the first week. And it's also a lesson that you're doing with them. Okay, that was a lot of information. So I'm gonna give you some time to just like process, take it all in, and maybe revisit your week map and see if you can link a couple things and just organize it later, but I highly encourage you to add at least one thing that you found here that you're like, oh, I want to do this. Um, so we'll give you some time and I'll look at the chat because there's a lot of comments,
There's
but
a-
also,
yeah, for you.
yeah, okay. So take a few minutes, maybe we'll do like 3 minutes to link a couple things. And then if there are any questions that I can answer right now, I'll go and look.
There's a lot. I tried to answer the ones
Okay.
that I had answers to. But the most recent one is, do you have a visual of the choice board for students?
I don't have like for things they can do when they're done.
Yeah.
Would that be like what you had last training, Kaylin, like the ketchup and
Yeah, so I use ketchup folders, which I don't have like a visual of that, but definitely I use Pinterest. I would look it up on Pinterest. Same for the choice boards. And I don't know how you guys feel about AI, but you could also ask ChatGPT or Canva to make you a choice board as well. I know some people don't like AI, but it's kind of helpful sometimes. So, Magic School is another one. If you guys have never heard of Magic School AI, that is another great resource as well. And I believe they have a choice board option.
yeah. I see a question that you answered, Caitlin, which I think I'm gonna just say it out loud in case someone didn't hear because I think this was important. This will be my first year teaching. I subbed last year, but there are are there some alternatives for boys and girls or ladies and gentlemen when talking to class? And you said you can use first graders, friends when addressing them. I've even heard some teachers call them scholars, like just different words that are not necessarily boys and girls. Um, with that, I do want to say this because I learned this my first year and I will never let it go. A lot of our students, sometimes we don't know what their family situations are. I do not like calling them, is mom picking you up? Is dad picking you up? I call them their special person or whatever. I think I would say special person. Or your adult, your grown up. Who's your grown up that's picking you up? Because you don't know what the situation is. It may not be mom, it may not be dad. So using those words are not, always appropriate. So I always say, you're grown up, and it takes time to get used to it, but then they tell you my grown up is my mom or my grown up is my grandma, whatever that is. But just considering those word choices, we didn't put like a slide on that, but any questions like that you have, it's good that you guys are asking because then we can discuss. And if you guys use something different, please feel free to share because I think those are very important.
I saw a comment about enriching their vocab. I don't know if you have ever heard of the book Shifting the Balance, but it talks about the first step to reading is communicating and giving them that vocab. So, one of the examples they give in the book is don't say, okay, we're going to come to the carpet. We say, let's gather on the carpet. Something so simple that you wouldn't think would affect them, but it sticks in their brain because they're just a bunch of little sponges and they just absorb everything. And then that'll help them to comprehend and understand their reading later. And a lot of students don't maybe get that communication at home. So wherever you can try to enrich their vocabulary is really important.
Yeah. I see another question before we move on. Any tips for you recommend to organize all these resources? I know it's a lot of different things. I would say start a Google Drive and add folders, by subject, by however you want. The way I would have my stuff ready, I had a slide deck that I would make a copy of each week, and that was my slide deck, and then that slide deck would link out to all my lessons. But I always had everything on a drive and just organized by folders. It depends. If you're very organized, it's gonna be easy. If you're not organized like myself, it's gonna take you a while. But I would say just start, maybe even add a Google Doc that you call it resources I want to try, and then link them, and then from you go from there. But what I don't want is for you to get all these amazing resources and then lose them, because I would do that all the time. I would go to trainings, I would get all these amazing things, and then I just never went back to them. And then I found myself recreating stuff. And then in the middle of creating, I would be like, oh my gosh, I remember I got a resource from a training. And why am I creating this again? So you have to create a system that works for you, whatever that looks like, but definitely create something so you don't lose these things. So should we share with our personal? Do you mean like your personal email? You could, yeah, if you want to have everything in case you don't have access to your school's email, you could do that. Okay, moving on.
There was one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Enriching the vocab. I talked about, it's a book. It's called Shifting the Balance. And it's a professional development book. And it talks about basically the foundations of reading. So, and they go over a lot of having collaborative conversations if you want to look into it. It's a really good book.
Okay, so I think we pretty much already did this, but if you guys have anything else on how to create a safe and welcoming environment and you would like to share it, this is your chance. You can unmute or just put it on the chat. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, this is the last big piece we have, and then we're gonna give you time to ask questions, collaborate, and just like keep planning, okay? So introducing the content gently. I know earlier we had someone that said, I only have 3 days, and then we have to jump into content. It also depends on your school. They may say you need content day one. I don't know who would say that, but if they do, you just have to kind of accommodate that in there, but always focus on what we're showing you today because it's you're gonna need this comes before content always. So what does it mean to introduce content gently? You are going to be doing a lot of content, believe it or not, even on teaching expectations and all these things that we're telling you. So use light, low pressure tasks to build confidence. Integrate fun, hands-on or collaborative activities. Focusing on exploration over grades or assessments. You do not want to do any of this on the first week unless it's like required by your district, which I don't, a lot of times they do have like some type of testing that has to be done, not the first week, but maybe within the first weeks. I say if you can wait and not do it the first week, don't do it because the kids are already coming to you maybe a little bit afraid. They don't know you, they don't know the classroom, they don't want to be dealing with more anxiety and testing specifically. Choosing accessible tasks everyone can succeed in. So always making sure that your tasks are, you provide those choices that everyone can be part of and not one student can be left out, especially the first week. Reinforcing community through meaningful content connections. Content is gently integrated into the first week activities, believe it or not. So we're going to talk about quality read aloud. If you're doing read alouds, you're integrating a lot of content. If you're discussing things, you're integrating a lot of content. If you're collaborating, there's lots of different content happening there. You can integrate math, reading, writing through all these activities, even if they're fun back to school. I promise you there's ways to integrate content without calling it a math lesson or we're learning addition. They're going to be doing these things within the activities you already have. You can also review some of the content from the previous year. I know whenever I was teaching first grade, not on day one, but maybe the following days, we would do a little chunk of like, let's practice, whatever we learned in kinder. And it was just like a little chunk just to bring in the content, getting them used to like, it's not all fun. We're also going to have some content stuff, but you don't want to be teaching anything new just yet. So here are some examples of how activities that you do on the first week of school could integrate content. So there's this, I don't know what this one was, Kaylin. I think this one was yours.
An acrostic poem. I had to pull that from the depths of my memory. I remember doing that in elementary school.
Okay. So here you're doing writing and you're reviewing a lot of concepts and you're doing a mini lesson. There's content involved. If you want to give very fancy, you can even look at what standard you're teaching and you know that. So if your principal comes in, you're like, "Oh, we're doing this with the standard." I doubt they'll be checking on you that week, but if you want to know what you're doing, it's there. This one I love so much. I'm going to close some of my tabs, you guys, because I have this thing that where I can't have like many tabs open and I've been so engaged that I forgot about it, but also my tab that I'm working on has to be the first one like that. It's weird. Okay. This one is so cute. It's called How Many Feet? And it's a math task. And this one was created by a colleague of mine. She's a math specialist here at the county office I work for. And it's a lesson that includes a read aloud book. And it's a math thing, but it's so much fun. It doesn't even feel like math. So the kids read a book and then they talk about how many feet are in their homes. So they have to count, they're doing math because they're counting the people in their houses and then they're counting the feet for each people. So they're like adding, if they're third grade, you can even do multiplication. Like there's so much you can do. And I think she made this lesson into different things like they can do, then they can show how many feet are in their home with like blocks, counters, with numbers. So cute. And you can literally do this with all kinds. You can do how many hands, how many heads. And it also gives you an idea of their home culture. Like you're learning about them. Then they can tell you, okay, there are 6 feet at my house. Okay, that means 3 people. Who are the people? Like it gives you opportunities to learn about them and their families. I highly encourage doing this one. It's super cute and you can adapt it to get creative, make it how many, whatever you want. This last one is a All About Me timeline name. This one would probably be for like the higher grades, but you're teaching history, you're teaching writing. There's a lot of different things that go into these, and these are fun activities, but they integrate content. The one I mentioned also is the quality read aloud. This is probably the easiest way that you're integrating content. If you're reading a book to them, you most likely have a follow-up activity. There's a lot of content happening. When you're reading a book, regardless of what it is, if it's to teach kindness, to teach belonging on the first day of school, you're teaching language and vocabulary. Good quality or high quality read aloud should introduce vocabulary and meaningful context. They're developing listening and speaking skills. You're going to be doing comprehension and thinking skills because you have to ask them for predictions, identifying themes, key details, ask and answer questions, and you want to connect the story to themselves as well. That is the big important part that you cannot miss. When you're reading a book, always bring it back to how does that relate to them? Find questions that support that. Oral language discussion, if you're modeling that fluent expressive reading, you're supporting them with that. If you are doing partner talks and dialogue, they're going to be talking and using sentence frames and doing all of that language that you want them to do during a read aloud. You're also integrating literacy concepts such as demonstrating concepts of print. That's a simple thing that we're teaching. Reinforcing story structure like beginning, middle, and end, characters, problem solution. And the last one, you're doing social emotional learning, belonging, and cultural responsiveness and equity if you're choosing the right and appropriate read aloud. So foster empathy, inclusion, and use diverse books to reflect students' identities and experiences. So I linked the First Day Jitters link here just so you can see. This is a book, a story that I will read day one, and there's so much content within that one lesson, but it's literally a First Day Jitters lesson. So I'm going to open it up just to show you really quick. If you look through it, it gives you step by step, but I'm just going to show you the slide deck. So we start with feelings, a feelings game. We talk about feelings. I ask them how do they feel, and then they kind of show me the different, feelings that they have. And then we move on to predicting. That's a skill, making a prediction, using sentence frames. What do you predict the story is going to be about? And then we move on to teaching some vocabulary. Maybe they don't know what the word jitters means. Well, I'm going to teach it today, and now you know. And then we read the story, and then we talk about it. How do you feel on the first day? They have a feelings chart, and then my activity at the end was for them to reflect and draw their feelings out. I also did jitter juice. If your school allows you and you have no allergies and you're okay with this, these are so much fun. I would bring a jitter juice, and then after reading the story, we would have jitter juice, and I would just make the juice. It could just be like basic juice, and I would add sprinkles. That was the jitters, that what helped the jitters go away. So something like that they love because you're teaching them a whole lesson, you're reading, you're discussing, and now we're gonna have some fun and you get a little snack. So just so you can see the different content components in a story. Here are others that you can use for the first week. The Good Egg is a good one. It's about self-love, community lessons. This one's based on the book All Are Welcome, which I really love. You can use that one as well. This one is another one I did. We Don't Eat Our Classmates. Each day of the first week, I had a different read aloud. Oh, I don't think I linked the right one. Okay, I gotta find it. But each day I did a different story, and I will do an activity. So with We Don't Eat Our Classmates, I ended up I think I did like a Trail Mix snack, and they would just get like little snacks after. I don't know how I connected it with the book. I forgot, but it's an option. I'm gonna edit the link so you have the right one. There you go. But again, there's a lot of content in the lesson. You're teaching all those skills and you are reading and you're having a fun activity at the end. Oh, they get a good classmate certificate. So learning how to be a good classmate. This one's a really good one. So these are here for you to access. And I think that was it for this part. So now we're gonna have you again go to your plan, link some of these, or share or on the chat or unmute. How do you introduce content gently during the first week? Are there other ideas that you have and that you would like to share with us? Or questions? You can also just use this time to process all the information and maybe link some of your resources. We have a couple questions I'm going to try to answer. Thoughts on classroom jobs and morning work. Kaylin, I think this is you. Last training, we talked about classroom jobs. So Kaylin can give you a brief answer for that. And I don't know if you want to share the resources you have. I think that would be really great for them.
Yeah, I can share the slides. We actually did another one of these sessions. What was that, like 2, 3 weeks ago, I think, at this point. And I love classroom jobs. So I can share the slides that I used to present during that time. I talked about 4 main jobs that I have in my classroom. I don't have too many because they are first grade and it's kind of a lot. My favorite job is cleanup crew. I have 6 tables, so I have 1 kid from each table. They're part of my cleanup crew. The teacher next door to me calls them the team leaders. So anytime they need to clean up, that's the person who cleans. Anytime I need them to get a supply from me, that's the person who comes to get a supply. So that just makes that a little bit easier. I also have my junior teacher. This is my little mini me, my little assistant. And I pick 1 student every day. They're my line leader. They run to the office when I need them to. They go to the teacher next door when I need them to. They pass out papers when I need them to. They're just my little mini assistant. Anytime I need something, that's who does that. I have my tech wizards. They help me plug in and make sure all the Chromebooks are charging for the next day. They also help people log in. So you have to have someone who knows how to log in, especially for my primary teachers. And then what was the last one? Oh, the brain. So students often come up to me, they show me their work, they go, here, and it's not done. They either need to add more details, they need to color the pictures, they need to write their name. So I have someone who I call the brain. They have to check the work to let the students know if it's done or not. That way it saves my brain just a little bit of chaos. So those are just a couple of jobs. And the students also know that if they are not being responsible, their job can be taken from them. Just like in the real world, we have jobs, we do our jobs correctly, we are responsible, and if we're not, we get fired. So they know that too. What was the other thing? Oh, morning work. I don't do morning work, I do morning bins. I like doing morning bins. We do 10 minutes every morning of kind of just like free play activities. The kids learn to share, they learn to collaborate, and they also practice like fine motor skills. So that's kind of what I do. I hope that answered your question.
I wrote the different jobs that Kaylin shared. So if you want to take notes, because we're just kind of talking, so it's there. Yeah, but
Those are my slides as well.
yeah, she'll put the slides there. When doing points, do you recommend using only one method or two? I only used one because it's just harder to track. I used PBIS because that was what my school had, and then we had like a little store that we would open on Fridays, and the kids. I had my personal store in my classroom, which I can share if you like. Most of the things that they would buy did not cost me anything. They were things that you can come up with in the classroom, like sit on the floor or sit in the teacher's chair or like go to recess early, things like that. But I did have little prices. I would say just one method. That way you don't have a lot to track because it could become overwhelming. And definitely, like for me, PBIS, the students had their own account, so they were able to track their own points and check, and I didn't have to do a lot, but it took a while for them to get trained on how to use that. Let's see. Any other questions with me? They make us start with the book. Okay, so Cassandra is just sharing that, she starts also with the book and with the KWL chart. And practice voice levels, attention, getting signals, and nonverbal gestures. Yes. Okay. Okay, great question. So we'll keep answering. This is another resource. I think some of the things that Kaylin shared, I have some versions of that here. They're not super fancy, but you can take a look. This is a collection with classroom management things. I have a classroom management plan that kind of is like a template that you can look at and fill out with links. This is a PD that I created on classroom management, just some strategies that are fun and that worked for me. And some slides that you can take out. I also, at some point, instead of points, I did sticker charts and I would just kind of give them a little, I would call them smellies, but it was like a smelly marker and I would do a little smiley face. They would get to smell it and then they had to track it. But I ended up moving away from it just because they would lose their little papers all the time. And you have really responsible kids, but some of them will lose them. And then you have criers because they don't have the points and they forgot all these things. But here are some classroom management things that you can look at if you are interested. And with that, we have pretty much covered most of I lost you guys. I can't find you, so I'm going to stop my screen just so I can see you. Those are kind of the main things that we wanted to cover. I know that was a lot. But we wanted to give you some time to just kind of ask away and prepare and plan. But I was thinking, Kaylin, maybe we can like vote because in case you want to, you'd like, I don't need to plan anything right now. This is too much already. We could kind of go over everything that we have left, which is just like next steps and wrapping up. And then after that, you can stay for the planning and questions, or you can go. Are you guys okay with doing that instead? That way you don't have to sit through like 20 minutes of planning when you're probably like, I can't even plan right now, girl. Like I need some time. Okay, so let's just go over everything we have and then we'll be here still because you may have specific questions and we'll be happy to answer them. So we're gonna skip this and skip this. Just really quick to check in. How many of you just with the thumb or are actually filling out this map or like adding some stuff? Or maybe not this map, but you're taking your own notes and things from today. Okay, awesome. Great. We'll do this at the end. Okay, so these are like our next steps. We are really wanting to continue this community and continue to bring trainings. We have scheduled or planned our next one. This is going to be August 2nd, so a month from now. Some of you may be getting close to going back to school. And this is a Saturday. We're doing a Saturday because we are back to work and we also have to, consider you guys' time. So we're doing August 2nd. And this is going to be all about supporting multilingual students. So scaffolds that stick, helping ELD students thrive. I personally have done a lot of work with supporting multilingual students at the county office. So I have a lot of resources to provide. And we have a couple of people that are wanting to help and bring in their experience to teach. So if this is something that you're interested on, here's the registration link. You can register now or later. We're going to be promoting it and sharing it on social media. Again, this is free. You're just giving up your time to learn, which is always a great thing. So that's there. Before you leave, if you decide to, we have a survey that we please ask you to complete. We use this to better our trainings. And just to go through the questions, any comments or anything that you want to tell us, please let us know in the survey. Kaylin, do you have anything to add on this part right here?
I was just going to say about the survey, we do look at the survey and read the survey. That is how we came up with the topic for our next training. ELD and helping multilanguage learners was the most requested, so that is why that's our next training. So we do read the survey, so if you'd like to fill it out. And then thank you. I saw someone put the links in the chat. Thank you for that.
Yeah. We also have our website for those of you that are new. We created a website that where we're saving everything that we do in the training. So I'm gonna open it up really quick just so you can see it. Here you can see just kind of the overview of the project. We are calling this community Lessen the Pressure. And here on the right, you can see the different training sessions. So last month's training was called Ready, Set, Teach. If you want to look at that, you can go here and then you can see the Zoom video. We recorded it. You see the presenters, and then we also have the presentation slide deck. There are a lot of resources there too, and everything was kind of connected to today's training. So you can go and look, and then we have first week, best week as well, which we'll be updating later today. We're going to be adding the video, and then the slide decks are here. So I highly encourage you to start this website because it's going to have all the tabs for the different trainings that we end up doing. So make sure you save that. We ask you to stay connected and grow the support. If you feel like you have something you would love to share in a training, we are more than happy to give you a time to share. So if you're like, hey, I'm really good at, organization, can I present on that? Yes, we don't know everything, you guys. We're here to facilitate, but if you're like, I'm really good at this, I would love to present, tell us in the survey or let us know at the end of today, because we would love to have more voices to be part of this community. You can have our emails here, or you can even contact us through social media if you want to keep in touch. Let me also go back to, so that's pretty much all we have. Don't forget the survey. And if you want to come to next trainings, register. But before you head out, if you're leaving, because you don't have to yet, we're going to give you time to answer questions. I do want you to all to answer this question because it's important for us to know what you learned. So share one thing that you learned or appreciated from this session. What was the one thing that anything you're excited about? Was this helpful? Any type of like feedback that you have right now, we would love to see it on the chat or on mute. We also like hearing voices.
It's beautiful that actually we're all going through the same process and we don't feel alone. Because we're so scared, like, it's my first year. I don't know what to do. What am I going to do on my first week? But noticing that everyone is going through the same jitters, it kind of calms the nerves.
Yeah, I think that was the goal of like starting this. That's why I integrate this like planning time. So if you have the time, please stay, because there's nothing compares to having a community of people that can help you, that you can reach out to. You're going to have your colleagues and you're going to have all these people, but not everyone's on the same journey. So it's nice to have people that are in the same journey and you can talk to. So that's the goal of this community. And we're here to support you guys with anything that you need. We really are passionate about this. So we're so happy that you were part of this.
Thank you so much.
Jose.
And starting a new school year is nerve-wracking, whether you've been teaching for 5 minutes or 5 years. I know going into my 5th year, I'm still a little nervous for a new year because sometimes you don't really know what to expect because you're with a new group of kiddos.
Yeah. Also because I know today was like overflowing with information and you probably didn't get to actually plan out your week. You can always reach out to us through email and let us know like, hey, I need help with this. Like day one, I don't really know what to do day one. We would be happy to help you. I am off the next 2 weeks, so I have some time. But even then, I can always take a few minutes to answer an email if you're like, I need help with my first day, or I need help with this. Because, yeah, like, I don't think we covered nearly everything you do on the first day. One thing I don't think we covered, but I do want to say, you guys, you're going to be exhausted the first day. You're going to be done. Like, I remember my first day. I was so tired. I cried when I got to my car. I was crying because I was like, nothing went the way I wanted it to go, which it's expected. And then I spent like 2 or 3 more hours after the day, after the kids left, trying to better my things for the next day, which I don't want you to do that. I want you to go home and rest. And just if you have a plan and your structures, you're going to be fine. But definitely rest. You're going to be great. Okay, anyone else? I'm not reading the chat yet, but I think you guys are just grateful for the resources, explaining things. Myra, I see your hands up.
I do have a question. On your slide number 59,
Uh-huh.
where you have the books, and then it takes you to the website,
Uh-huh.
California Education Together. It takes me to that specific book I picked, but is there a way I can navigate to see the list of books available in that website?
Um, Caitlin, so slide 51 has some of them that are on the website because the website doesn't have like a lot of them. It doesn't have many of them, but some of the ones that it does have are already linked in this resource. The thing is that the website is huge. Like there's hundreds and like thousands of lessons. So if you're looking for a specific one, you just have to search it on the website and see if they have it. But I think we try to link most of the ones that would be like helpful for the first week. But there's
Okay,
a lot there to like unpack. So you would just kind of go through the website and explore it and see what you find.
understood. Thank you.
Of course. Okay, so at this point, I think we're all done. If you're not wanting to stay, if you're wanting to go, you can go. If you're wanting to stay, stay and just let us know. That way we can either put you in a breakout room or we can stay in the main room and just chat together. But thank you guys so much. I hope today was helpful.
There was one question in the chat. I don't know if Catherine's still here. Oh yeah, Catherine's still here. Specific tips for first year teachers. I would say don't overwhelm yourself. You're going to get a lot of information from a lot of different people. Take it all in, write it all down, and then you kind of decide what's going to work best for you. You don't have to do everything all at once, like everything we went over today. You don't have to do everything. Pick 1 to 2 things to try out in your classroom.
Yeah, I think last training we had as well, if you have a chance to look through those slides, it has a lot of tips for like first year. Um if there's anything like specific that you want tips on, you can let us know. But yeah, I would say the same as Caitlin. It's gonna be overwhelming. You don't have to do it all, and it's okay to ask for help because a lot of times you feel like you're alone, but you're not. Always reach out.
Oh.
Yes, the website, like the California Educators Together website link. Let me get it for you. Or do you mean the website, like our website? Someone wants the link to the website, but
Here, I have the one copied, so I'll do the lesson the pressure and then let me find the California educators.
okay, perfect.
I'll link both just in case. Oh, that we made. Okay, yeah, put the links to both the Lessen the Pressure, which is our website, and then the California Educators Together, which has a lot of free resources. If you would like a PBIS specific PD, when you fill out the survey, put that in. I don't know if that's an option.
I
But
don't know.
we can make note of that.
Yeah, any type of I think the survey lets you type what you're interested on learning about, and then you can just type whatever, and then we are going based on majority of responses, like whatever is more common, that's what we're going for. Oh, Cecilia, yes, I can find that, the PBIS. Um, let me find it for you. Caitlin, did we have dream dollars at King?
Yeah, we had the school dollars and then they matched the school expectations.
Okay, I'll say, what is it? What's a dream dollar? It's the same one that I had for PBIS. I think I just edited it for the.
Yeah.
Okay, so Cecilia, I'm gonna add the link here. That's the store that I had. Those are some of the things that the kids would purchase from me. And I would use either sticker charts. So you can do a lot of this with this. This could be your store, but you can, how they buy things. It could be PBIS, Class Dojo points, sticker charts, dollars, money, whatever. A lot of people use different systems, but this is just some ideas for your store. And some of these didn't cost any money. Some of those I would buy from Dollar Tree, and I had a big bin of things, and we would only open the store on Fridays. Friday morning, we would open the store, they would track their points. They would all be doing some type of computer work, like our, district's programs, and then they would come one at a time to tell me what they wanted. We had a whole system for it. So you do have to create that system, and it once they practice and they get it, it takes like 10 to 15 minutes for them to buy things. A lot of them wouldn't want to buy anything because they would want to save points, which is good as well. I also had like lunch with me, and these are in dollars because I adapted it to the last school I was at, but when I had PVIS, it was points. So it was way more than 2 points or 5 points. It would be like 10, 15 points, even like 50 points for something, and they would pile them up and collect them. So I hope that helps. Hilda, you have a question?
Yes, so you said you used points and you said it was Class Dojo points or the PBIS points?
So I use PBIS, but I know some people use Class Dojo because you can do points. I like PBIS because that's the one my school had, and it was very, like, the last year I was there was very modern. They already had an app, so I had an app on my phone. But I don't know if that's something that the district has to pay for, because I think they do have to pay for that. Like, we all had it. So even like I had a QR code that for each student. So I printed the QR code. If you have PBIS and you log into your portal, you can download the QR codes, and I laminated it and put it in each table. So whenever I would pass by, I was like just monitoring around and they would do something good, I would scan it with my phone and it gives them a point. And
Okay.
they also had like a card, it was like an ID with the QR code, so anyone in the school can give them points throughout. I just really love that system because they logged into their PBIS and they would see their totals.
Okay.
Yeah, so if that's something that your school's gonna have, I would highly encourage it over Class Dojo, because then that's just an additional thing you have to track.
Okay. And you did this with first graders?
I did this with second graders.
Oh, okay. That's what I was
But-
worried. I was like, would second graders know like how to like use I'm
Oh, yeah.
obviously with the technology.
Yeah, you just have to teach them. Like, it's all a process. It's not something that I would introduce week one. I think it comes later on, but you teach them. So you teach them the process, like you can get points for this, and then you have to teach them to log in. If they can log into their Chromebooks, they can log into PBIS. They'll learn all of that. Yeah, and with time they'll be fine.
Okay, because I was thinking of doing like an actual little dollar bill, not the dollar bill, but like equivalent to the classroom. But I said it's too much to print and to cut them out and then to hand them out.
Yeah. Yeah, because I did those sticker charts and they were good. Like, the kids liked them a lot, but it became chaotic because they would lose them and it was too much to print. And then if they lost them, then I had to get them a new one and then try to remember how many points they had in it. I prefer anything like digital that they can do. It's just easier.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think if you're all here still is just to either questions or plans. So I think it's okay we stay in this room because we don't have a lot of you to send you to different rooms. So we're here till 12, which gives us like 15 more minutes. You are free to stay and plan, ask us questions, go through the links, but we'll be here. I'm wondering if anyone wants to share their plan, if you actually link things.
Are we gonna get a copy of this? Because the way my brain functions is I need to rewatch something and connect everything because that's how I just do things. It's
Yeah, no,
a
yeah.
minute for me to like, okay, I'm gonna do it this way. If I do it in a rush, I just put everything everywhere and I'm like, where did I link that?
Yeah, we can so the website that we have that we shared with you guys, everything's going to be there. But I can try to also send a follow-up email with the link.
Gracias.
Yeah, the recording of today's Zoom will be on the website, and then the links for like the presentation should already be there. And then also plug for our TikToks. We'll probably be posting TikToks as well. I already tried to plug them in the comments, but.
Yay.
And also information about future trainings as well.
Oops, I was muted. Hilda, where are you going to teach?
I'll be at Alicante.
Oh, yay. I love Alicante. I live right across, kind of.
Oh, okay.
Down the street.
Yeah, I went to school there, so it's gonna be interesting to see my old teachers again.
You're in first grade?
It'll be second grade Spanish.
Oh, Spanish. Okay.
Yeah.
Really cool. I have a lot of second grade stuff. If you ever want to, you want me to share, everything's in English, but you can adapt.
I will definitely message you.
Please. Second grade. That one was my favorite. I love second grade.
I was in second grade with Mr. Casejon.
Yeah. Did you love it?
I loved it, but he retired.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but it was by the end, I know what you said. Whenever by the end they were already doing like their own little thing. They go from needing everything to already knowing the routine and everything. And I was like, yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, they definitely grow a lot in that year. Let me close some of these tabs. So when do you guys start here in Lamont?
We start July 23rd.
Oh, okay. So really soon.
Yeah, so these past couple of weeks has just been laminating, cutting, and getting like a bunch of materials.
Okay.
Yeah.
When do you get access to your classroom?
I'll be there next Tuesday.
Okay, that's early. That's good.
Yeah.
A lot of times they give you the keys like 3, 4 days before your first day, which is not enough time. Is that you, Jose? Oh man. Yeah, how exciting. I'm really excited for you guys.
So all of the recording and slides are available.
Yes, they are in the website. Do you have the link? Or do you want me to, put it in
No,
the
but I know how to find you. I go to TikTok and you said to go to you're linked.
Yes.
something?
So I'll share the link later. We can make a video with the link.
Okay.
But it's in my link tree. I'll put it there as well. It's the Lessen the Pressure website.
Okay, thank you.
And everything will be there as well.
Okay, thank you.
Adriana, were you here last training? Because your name looks familiar.
Yes, I was. I'm just not talking a lot because if I start talking, man, I'll take whole time. So that's why I'm just typing a lot.
Oh, thank you
Just
so
about to
much.
type in the chat, you are hired because rocking it.
Mhm.
Awesome. Love it. I'll be responding while you talk.
I love that. Thank you.
Sure.
She's even promoting our TikToks. You're really hired.
Yeah. Okay. Hilda, I heard that Alma is retiring. Is that correct?
I don't know if it's from Mini Corps or the actual program. But she did say she wanted to go on vacation already. So, but with the residency program, they're looking for funding for that to like keep funding the program and to pay for like the stipend and stuff. So
Did the funding end?
it ends after this school year coming up. So after that, they're looking for like different options. Yeah.
I hope they keep it.
Hopefully, yeah.
Are great programs. Kaylin and I also did a residency program, but we did the Kern Irvin. Cuter?
That's the Greenfield?
No, that's BCSD.
Oh, that's BCSD. Okay, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But you got your what? Your a single? Did you do like the single subject and the multiple at the same time?
I did multiple and authorization for English.
Oh, okay, okay, that's good. That's the one I was debating on also applying for.
So like my credential with the authorization, I think it allows me to teach up to ninth grade English.
Oh, that's good. So you have options.
But I want to, but, but yeah. Let's see, Fanny, you're asking, do you guys have a master program you recommend? It depends on what you like. Do you have an idea on what you would want to do your master's on?
Well, my first semester as an intern was January to May, right? And they just kind of threw me in there in the middle of the school year. So if I'm being completely honest, I had a horrible teaching experience. My students were not very nice. My students were used to running the classroom pretty much. So I was very discouraged, very stressed out, burned out. So my first thought was like, I need to get out of the classrooms, right? I need to get a master's. And I always liked counseling too. So I was looking into that, but then I decided to transfer because I did a residency program with CSUP with Bakersfield. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's the Better program.
I've heard of it.
Miss Santiago was the director. I think that was her last name, Santiago. Yes, yeah. So she was a director. So it's a residency program with Antelope Valley, Palmdale District, and Bakersfield. So long story short, I decided to transfer, and I'm gonna start fresh at a new school. So I'm excited to start fresh from August with fresh new class and implement all of these, routines and procedures because I didn't have much time to do it in January.
Yeah.
So, but I still want to do a master's program. Just not exactly what to look for or what. I know Cal State Fullerton offers one in technology or something. But I heard that is very intense program. And I also have 4 kids. I'm a mom. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on like what you want to focus on. I did my master's in curriculum and instruction. Kaylin, is that what you did too? Curriculum instruction?
Yeah.
To me, I feel like it was really helpful, like beneficial. Like the current job that I have right now, I'm really putting my master's to practice in my role right now. But even in the classroom, I feel like it made me a better educator, like you consider just so much when you're planning for your students. And I really love that program. Um, but that was here at CSU Bakersfield. But I don't know if that's something, that you're like considering, because there are just so many in education that you can do. Um, I really enjoyed the lesson planning piece and just like planning and, curriculum. So I went for curriculum instruction, but there were
Okay.
other options that I was thinking about too, like, oh, I really want to do this and that.
And that was all online too. So you kind of do it at your own pace since it's all online.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. And so how long is the program, or does it depend on how many courses you take?
Was it 2 years or a
I
year?
did, it was 1 year. They used some of your credentialing credits for it. So I did 1 year.
1 year. Oh, okay. That's not too bad.
Yeah, because I
I did
think,
a lot in the summer. I did like 3 classes in the summer.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. That sounds like a good option.
Mhm.
Um, so curriculum instruction would be like another position that would fit.
Unless you want to do like move up into admin, then I would recommend looking into admin because I don't think you need the master's to be admin, but it would definitely help if that's something you're interested in the future. But the curriculum and instruction, I wouldn't say it was hard. It was just definitely like work.
Okay.
But since you have some classroom experience under your belt, then it won't be super challenging.
Hmm. Okay. Well, thank you so much for all of the help and all the resources. Will there be another training anytime soon, or?
Yeah, the one we shared is on the slide deck, August 2nd,
Okay.
which is a Saturday, and it's ELD and like supporting multilingual students.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Thank you so much for everything.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Cecilia, I see your hand up.
Yes, so now that Fanny was talking about that, do you guys have any tips? So I'm currently gonna start my second year of teaching first grade at a dual language school. And I also applied for my master's, which I'll be attending next month already. And I'm going for curriculum and instruction as well at CSUMB. It's gonna take me 2 years just because that's the school that I graduated from, and they used to call, well, they have two cohorts. One they call tradition and one they call ITEP. So I'm an ITEP student, so that's why it's gonna be taking me 2 years. Do you guys have any recommendations or any tips as, working at a school and also like, being a student at the same time?
I would say organize. I used to like at the beginning of the semester, I would look at all of the assignments I had and I would make a checklist and I would organize, okay, this week I'm going to focus on this, and that's it. That's all I need for this week. That's what I'm going to focus on. I used to stay really late at work, but when I was getting my master's, I was like, no, I have to leave when my hours are over because I have to go home and work on my master's stuff.
Yeah, I would just say also like maybe if this works for you, but creating a schedule, like I would say when I was in the classroom, I would plan a little bit each day for the next week, and by Thursday, I already had my lesson plans done for next week. Um, and then I would designate one day out of the week if that's okay, or more than one, but I would say like maybe Wednesdays. On Wednesday, I do master's work, or on Thursdays, on Fridays, depending on, I would just avoid doing all the work over the weekend because it really burns you out. Like you put in a little bit of extra work 1 day or 2 days during the week, but then your weekend is more free. So it's just like sticking to your schedule. I and that worked for me. Like I would only do master's work on like a Tuesday and Thursday, and it was like non-negotiable. And then on my Friday, I wouldn't do nothing on Friday. Friday was like my day. I would leave the classroom and I was free for the day. If I needed to do extra work on the weekend, I would always aim to do it in the morning and then just leave the rest of my day free. But just kind of scheduling those days and staying, holding yourself accountable, I would say that helps a lot.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for all this. This
Of
has been
course.
wonderful, and it makes me feel more, well, it makes me feel less nervous.
Yes, you're gonna be okay. And Adriana in the chat, she said, set goals for every day and reward yourself with something. Another thing I would do is I love me a coffee and a coffee shop. And so sometimes I'll be like, okay, if I'm gonna work on a Saturday, it better be a Saturday morning at a coffee shop. So then it's a little bit of like I'm treating myself. It doesn't feel too much of like work, but you're just like scheduling those little dates with yourself, work dates, they're good. And treating yourself always. It's part of the process.
Yes, thank you so much.
Of course. Have a great day.
Thank you too.
Thank you so much for all of this because I'm not much of TikTok person and I just started it because I come from different country. I come from Ukraine and so I've been teaching there, but I've been teaching as a second language English. And so all this stuff like going through loopholes, like doing all these high stakes testing like RICA, CSAT, CBAS, all of these testing. And in my country, it's totally different. I feel like I'm kind of a little bit cheated the system in Ukraine, but here it's so serious, which I really I admire, but it's so hard and so overwhelming. So finding you guys just by true luck is just I'm still like all this stuff in the chat that I put is only because I'm so like hyped up I think and so excited for all of this stuff so I can't wait to use it all and get my teaching. So I'm getting my master's because I got my bachelor's in Ukraine, so I'm trying to see if I can get my the thing is I went for Cal State East Bay to get my credentials, and that didn't work out because I didn't meet the deadline of CSAT because it my second language, and so it wasn't like working out, and there was a lot of knowledge gap that I've been not like aware of, but with that it revealed, and so I had to go for that. So I had to look for options, and Western Governors came to be the best option for me, and so I do it right now and get my credential with masters at the same time, which sounds miraculous. So yeah, and finding you again, I'm just like so excited. I can't.
Well, we're so glad you're here. One of the things with getting your teaching credential in California, California is one of the hardest states to get your teacher credential in because you have to jump through so many hoops. But if you move states, it's going to be really easy for you to move states because you've already met above the requirements that other states require.
Hopefully so. Because I mean, I'm telling you, I checked RICA and now they say, okay, we extended to the 30th of October. I'm like, are you kidding me? I was prepping so hard for that. And I was like, oh, but okay. I hope today the results come and I pass and that'll be off my plate. But anyways, I still have to take praxis. It's kind of a CBAS thing for Western Governors University because that's their requirement. But there's also like, they kind of go easy right now on teachers, I'd say, but not really. They CBAS kind of meets with your bachelor, but for the Western Governors, you can't do it that way. They wanted to know that you know the stuff you need to know, whatever. But anyway, yeah. Sorry, I know I talked too much.
No, you're fine.
Love it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, and we hope that you continue to come to all of our
Oh,
little.
of course. No, you're kidding.
Yeah,
Of
it's
course,
it's
thank you so
amazing.
much. Thank you. Now go treat yourself. I felt bad you were like talking 2 hours and I'm like, oh, did they eat? Did they drink? I don't know.
Oh, you're
So
fine.
go treat
I got
yourself.
my coffee.
Yes,
I'm
we
good.
have
Good.
we
That's
did.
good.
We're
Thank
good.
you so much again, guys. Thank you, thank
Thank
you, thank you.
you.
Thank you.
You're not wasting your time. You have invested in so many people out there you don't even know. Thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing. It's awesome.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Adriana.
Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you.
As well.
Yay, that was
We
good.
literally had like double the amount of people.
I know.
And for a long time, like we had 60 people for so long.
Yeah, I didn't check like how, if people were leaving till the end, and we had like 55 still.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I noticed it went from like the most we had was like 66, and then it went down to 64, and then it was at 60 for like or it was at 62, but I wasn't counting us for like a long time, and then at the end it was like 55. But still, that's like a lot.
That's really
I'm
good.
just reading the survey, but I can't tell what is from what. So
Do you have the spreadsheet?
yeah, I found it.
Let me go look as well. I want to look at the survey
I'm
too.
feeling inspired, and everybody was like, I'm so excited, and
I know.
I'm so glad we were able to help.
Oh God.
Bless you. At least nothing was acting up.
I know. Wait, where is the survey?
You put it in the folder, like the main folder.
Is it the one that's titled Ready Set Teach?
Yeah. And then I put like a break on there.
Oh, okay, got it.
You would know what's from today. Oh, more breakouts and more examples, people said. How to handle parent confrontations. Ooh. Girl,
Girl, I was like, I don't know how to help you with that one. I cry.
yeah. I just
I
shut it.
am not good at that. I'm not. I remember one time I had a confrontation and I literally cried. Because the parent was upset because I was late to the dismissal, but it's like, it's your kids, it's not me.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't.
Okay, which of the
I
following
made them so that they drop.
would you like to receive updates? You slay. Oh, I can't wait to do something on phonics because phonics, I love phonics.
I almost started making like a presentation, then I was like, no, you need to freaking slow down.
But you know what? It may be helpful because once you start the school year, I don't know how available you are.
Yeah, I get pretty busy. There's some days where I don't have anything, and normally those days I'm like, okay, I'm not doing jack diddly squat. I sit on the couch and do nothing. So I don't know. And then PBIS, I don't really know a lot about PBIS because we don't really use it.
I know basics, but I don't know that we can train on that. I think that's like a people have to be trained for. Like Jamie would know because Jamie is in her team now. They run all that, but I don't know that she can train on it because I think it's like you have to
Has to be
pay
done.
for that.
Yeah.
So we can give tips.
You can do like classroom management and mention it, but
Yeah, I don't think I can train on PBIS.
okay.
There are things like maybe we can mention that next training. Like there are some things that we can't train on, like legally we just can't, but we could touch on it.
Yeah, because someone direct messaged me and asked me about curriculum and asked which curriculums I use. So I told her which ones we use for ELA and math. And then she asked if I knew anything about another curriculum, and I was like, honestly, I don't. But she said she was gonna reach out, and so I told her I could help her with stuff, but I don't really know specifics about curriculums.
Do
And
you
I
still use benchmark?
we use benchmark and my math still that hasn't changed. They wanted to change our math curriculum and we were like, you can't do that because you just changed science curriculums. Oh, we're still recording.
Oh,